What up, gamers? It is Will 777JP back at it again with another one. And y'all, today I wanted to make this video because I was thinking about games, like I do a lot of the times. And I was thinking maybe I've been too hard on PlayStation. I had been talking a lot of crap about PlayStation and their lack of first party games. And look, let's be real. PlayStation has kind of been dry over the last 2 years. And when I say something like that, people automatically come and defend them and say, hey, they've been putting out more games than Xbox. And I'm like, that's not the argument here. I ain't never compare PlayStation to Xbox because they're not in competition. PlayStation is on a level of its own. All right. But people automatically come out and say that, and they give other stupid arguments. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take a closer look at this. So I Googled PlayStation 5 first party studio games. And there has been numerous lists from all games that came out on PlayStation from first party, all games that are exclusive, articles with games that include both. But I found this one here that talks about every new PS5 first party game in development and who's making them. And I was like, you know what? Let's take a look at this article. I haven't read it yet, so we'll do that for the first time together and actually see what the plans are from PlayStation based on the information that they have already said, right? Before we do that, make sure you take the minute and hit the like button, hit the subscribe. The subscribe is the big one here. We're trying to get these subscribers numbers up. And also comment down below, let me know what you think. Also, to all of you guys that are already subscribed to the channel, thank you so very much, man. Y'all have made my YouTube journey very pleasant, very fun. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, getting back to this article here, it was written by Michael Beckwith from Metro. He wrote it in February 18th, or published it February 18th, which was about 2 days ago. And the title is Every New PS5 First Party Game in Development and Who's Making Them. So let's go ahead and take a look. It says here, if you want to know what new games are coming out for PS5, here's a list of what each of Sony's internal studios are working on at the moment. Okay? A lot of PlayStation 5 owners like to criticize the console for not having enough first-party games. Hey, I'm one of them. And it's not hard to see why. Sony didn't manage to release a single major blockbuster last Christmas, with the publisher's only exclusive being Astrobot, which was critically acclaimed but not a massive seller in the disastrous Concord. Let's pause here for a moment, right? Because I absolutely love Astrobot. I got the platinum for it. It's a phenomenal game. I highly recommend it. Even my son played it, and my son doesn't really play on PS5, right? There's not many games that interest him on PS5. He's got an Xbox Series S. He plays a lot of Minecraft, a lot of Roblox, stuff like that. So, and he also has a Switch, which he will generally play the new Mario game. He'll beat that and then put it away and never see it again, right? But I knew there was something wrong with PlayStation when I think it was in May when PlayStation did that State of Play of 2024 where they showed Astrobot. And when they showed Astrobot, it was the one last thing moment. They showed Astrobot and they gave us a release date, which was huge, right? It was huge. But at the end of the day, Astrobot is just a platformer. It's a family game. It's not the type of game that PlayStation usually, promotes and markets. And, it's not like the God of Wars or Spider-Mans. It's not like the Horizon, The Last of Us. It's not that type of game. It's just a platformer. And I'm not trying to discredit Astrobot and take anything away from that game, because that game is phenomenal. And also, shout out to the team for continuing to work on that game and giving out free content. But it's still a platformer, right? It's a game you're going to knock out in 15 hours. If you're going for the platinum like I did, it took me 25 hours, 30 hours, because I was really taking my time with it, because I knew there was nothing next for PlayStation as far as first-party studio games goes. And that's what I really love about PlayStation. I think that PlayStation's first-party studios are the best in the world at what they do. I love every single one of their games. Sure, there are some that I like more than others, but every single one of those big budget AAA games are high quality, polished to perfection. I mean, they're just phenomenal games, right? A lot of people in the industry don't make games quite like PlayStation does. And we know this because look how many consoles they sell. Look at how happy people get when PlayStation announces a state of play or a showcase or something like that. Even the PlayStation haters get a smile, right? Something to talk about, something to stream. They're excited to see what's upcoming. When PlayStation announces something, the whole industry stops and listens. That's the impact that they have. Let's continue here. Sony's 2025 release schedule is looking just as slim, with the latest state of play from February 2025 saying or relying almost entirely on third-party releases. So unless you're keenly paying attention to every rumor and piece of news, it's easy to assume the company has very few games currently in active development. Now, I do pay attention. I'm constantly reading articles. I'm constantly looking up information. I mean, I have a podcast on Sundays where we talk gaming. I have a live stream on Tuesdays where we play games, we talk games. I make videos. So I'm trying to stay as informed as I possibly can. Now, I don't know everything, but I definitely know more, way more than the average gamer, right? The casual gamer. They're not really paying attention like maybe we are. And it's a slim year, just like last year was a slim year. Now, last year PlayStation had some bangers, right? Stellar Blade, Rise of Ronin, which I didn't really like, but they did come out with some stuff. Second party, third party exclusives, Helldivers, Astrobot, which is the only first party, but it just wasn't enough in my opinion. And people always combat me with that as well. They'll say something like, well, you're ridiculous. I have more games than I can play. Yes, you do. But these are third party games. These are, multi-plat games. There isn't that many coming straight from PlayStation. And that's what the conversation's about. So very okay. To get a true idea of the current state of play of the PlayStation business, let's run through all of Sony's internal developers and try to figure out what they're currently working on and when their next game might be out. Naughty Dog. While The Last of Us is still a hot commodity thanks to the TV show, Naughty Dog's next project is not The Last of Us Part 3, but rather a new 80s inspired sci-fi IP entitled Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Now, before I continue reading, once again, I haven't read this article. I got a feeling this game won't be out till 2026 at the earliest. Naughty Dog takes a long, long time to make games. A very long time. Its brief reveal at the Game Awards 2024 suggests it will be another third-person action game, although maybe one not as reliant on stealth as The Last of Us and Uncharted. It has no release date, but this will be Naughty Dog's first woolly original game for the PlayStation 5. Very true. The studio's PlayStation 5 output has so far consisted of remasters of its PlayStation 4 games, including 2020's The Last of Us Part 2 and a full remake of the first of The Last of Us, which I was pissed off about. Like, when Last of Us Part 2 remake came out, it wasn't even 4 years since Last of Us Part 2 came out on the PS4. And the game runs on a PS5 phenomenal. It looks great. Like, to me, that was a waste of resources. But hey, they did what they did. The show, everything had to go together so they can maximize that IP. Think about how famous and how popular that IP is with only 2 games, guys. It's crazy to me. Admittedly, Naughty Dog was meant to release a Last of Us multiplayer game after it opted to cut multiplayer from The Last of Us Part 2. It would have also been one of Sony's many planned live service games, but it was canceled, so Naughty Dog could stick with making single-player games. That cut really hurt a lot of people, even me, who I am not a multiplayer gamer at all. Like, I actually despise live service games. To me, it's disgusting. It's like walking into the toilet and seeing the biggest turd you've ever seen, and it wasn't you who did it, and it smells and it's horrible. That's how I view live service games. But even the multiplayer from Naughty Dog I was looking forward to, because I love The Last of Us and the gameplay is phenomenal, and they did have a multiplayer in The Last of Us when it first came out, and it was a lot of fun. And we were just hoping something like that. A lot of us were just hoping they included it in The Last of Us Part 2, but they didn't, because they were working on this live service game and they want to make it into its own thing. One of the things I've been saying for a long time in regards to PlayStation and their live service venture is stop trying to create new IP for live service. Take the IP you currently have and expand on it, because this current IP is what the fans already want. So all you're doing is giving them what they already wanted. So they're going to see you in a good light saying, hey, look, PlayStation's giving us more of what we want. And secondly, I think the risk is way less. And once again, you don't have to come out with a Fortnite size level type of game. You can start small, like Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer, Last of Us multiplayer, and expand from there based on the success. I just feel like PlayStation has been making a lot of mistakes in management and just common sense things. Like, what are you guys doing? Well, anyways, let me continue. Speaking of Naughty Dog, has said it has multiple single player projects in the pipeline. What any of them are, though, is a mystery. All right, so let me reread that. Speaking of Naughty Dog, has said it has multiple single-player projects in the pipeline. What any of them are, though, is a mystery, with plenty of rumors, theories pointing to a third The Last of Us, a fantasy game, and a new Uncharted. So that would be awesome. I love Uncharted. I would love a new Uncharted, another Last of Us. I'll take it. Now, some people may argue about a third Last of Us or even another Uncharted game. The reason that I'm excited for that is because they're quality freaking games, man. I know the story's probably gonna be banging. It might not even be as good as the other ones, but I know it's gonna be good, well done for the most part, right? And a fantasy game and okay, whatever. But like for Naughty Dog, I think that Naughty Dog should never be working on more than two projects ever. They should have their main project, which they're working on for to get ready to ship, and the second project where they are creating the art, they're creating, they're just getting the ideas together. So as soon as they ship the first game, they go ahead and immediately jump into making that second game while they have a super small team maintaining the game they just released. That should be their kind of system. Now, I don't know if that's their system. Based on this information, it's not their system. They're constantly working on more than 2, 3 games. They need to stop it. Naughty Dog only releases about one game per generation. I mean, we're talking about Last of Us for the PS3 era and the PS3. Then they did it again for the PS4. Then they came out with Uncharted Lost Legacy and then Uncharted 4, right? But Lost Legacy is basically a continuation of Uncharted 4. Okay, I'll give it to them. That's 2. PS5 gen? None. None. Last of Us 2, freaking game that came out at the end of the PS4 generation. So that's 3 game if you're counting Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4, right? But if you kind of include it, because even they include it, right? That's 2 games in the PS4 gen. PS4 gen lasted what, 8 years? So I mean, come on, what are you guys doing? Let's continue. Santa Monica Studio. Considering Santa Monica Studio has been making almost nothing but God of War games since 2005, everyone expects the studio to be working on another sequel next. Well, that's fairly safe bet. A God of War 6 is not guaranteed to be Santa Monica's next game. Now, I like God of War, but it's not a favorite game of mine, and I would love to see something new from Santa Monica. Brand new IP. Just stop working on God of War. You guys did it with God of War 2018, which was a banger, sold a boatload of copies. You guys did it with Ragnarok, which was a banger, not as good, but still sold a boatload of copies. Let the IP go. But knowing PlayStation, they're going to want to suck as much as they can out of that IP. Rumor is they're working on a TV show or movie for Amazon or something like that. So they're definitely, I think, are working on another God of War game. So it releases roughly around the same time as the movie or TV show. Or they may be working on remasters of the old God of War games. We will see. In the wake of 2022's God of War Ragnarok, producer Cory Barlog says Santa Monica was working on multiple projects, but didn't say that what any of them were. Santa Monica has provided no updates since then, but evidence points to one of them being a new IP, possibly another sci-fi game alongside Naughty Dogs. Also, sci-fi IPs, bring them. I love sci-fi IPs. Those are my favorite freaking genre of gaming ever. So I'll take all the sci-fi IPs. Bring them. That said, there have been several rumors and theories about new God of War projects, ranging from a half sequel to remasters of the original Greek games and even a prequel. Now, the remasters of the original Greek games, bring those. Bring those. It's been what, 15 years since those games have been out? Like, That's when you do a remake or remaster, not a game that is 5 years old. I have a rule of thumb: if the game is younger than 10 years old, leave it alone. If the game is older than 10 years, do that remaster, do that remake. Also, in 2022 is when God of War Ragnarok came out. Guys, that's freaking going on 3 years. We're at 2.5 years since the game's been out. This October or November is when it'll be 3 years. Time is freaking flying. There are already rumors about the PS6 already started circulating last year. Last year was the halfway point of the PS5 with the release of the PS5 Pro that officially makes it right at the 4-year mark. So this is assuming that the PS5 will run as far or at the same time as the PS4 did, which is about 8 years. Like, time is ticking here, guys. Where are the PlayStation first party games? Let's continue. We're at that. Sucker Punch Productions. After the success of 2020's Ghost of Tsushima, a sequel for the PlayStation 5 was all but guaranteed. Sucker Punch didn't confirm that, though, until late 2024 with a sequel sporting the title of Ghost of Yotei, which pissed me the hell off. Set 300 plus years after the first game and featuring a new female protagonist, Ghost of Yotei is so far Sony's only first-party exclusive scheduled for 2025. Technically, though, they never said it was a sequel, and it could potentially be a half-sequel in the style of Spider-Man Miles Morales. That pissed me off so much. There is still so much story for Jin of Ghost of Tsushima to be told. One, the Mongols just invaded Tsushima, which is an island off the mainland Japan. In history, we know that the Mongols did invade the mainland Japan. In the game, Jin was being hunted down by the Emperor. Whichever you pick, whether he killed his uncle or he let his uncle survive, dealing with that. The Mongols still in Tsushima. Like, there is so much to that story still left, and Naughty Dog said, fuck you, we're gonna do something different. And the people fucking defending that shit, like, why? Why are you defending it? This is their biggest argument. Oh, it's just that they're just gonna do a Ghost series where they do Ghost of Yotei, then they can come back and do Jin, then they'll do like a Ghost of Italy or something like that. Okay, cool, that's fine. But except that these games are taking 5-6 years to make. When am I gonna see another Ghost of Tsushima Part 2? When I'm fucking 10 years from now? Like, dude, what are you doing? I love gaming. I don't want to wait freaking 10 years to play another Jin game. Anyways, let's continue. Beyond that, there's nothing to suggest Sucker Punch is working on anything else. There were once rumors of the studio revisiting its Sly Cooper and Infamous franchise, but Sucker Punch put those down in 2022, adding that no such projects were in development anywhere within Sony. I think that's a missed opportunity. Sony's in the habit of making this remakes and remaster. Why not with Sly Cooper? Like, hello, that's a great IP. Platformers are real hot right now. Great chance to bring Sly Cooper back. Like, what are you guys doing? And as far as Infamous, I can understand that, even though I would love another Infamous, but they can also remake or remaster the first 3 Infamous games, or the first 2. Like, there's just so much to do here, so much. And I understand there's limited time and space, but this just enforces my thinking of, why are you wasting your time with live service games, especially at the scale that you're doing it, when you have so many IPs that can definitely, get a rebrand, not a rebrand, but a refresh. Bend Studios. Following 2019 Days Gone, Bend Studio was meant to move into new multiplayer IP with was described as AAA military shooter. Like many other Sony live service projects, though, it was canceled before anything more official was shared. As such, there's no telling if Ben has anything else to fall back on or if it needs to pitch new ideas to Sony. There were once talks of the studio making a new Uncharted, but staff reportedly wanted to do their own thing, resulting in some leaving and the rest asking to be taken off the project. Ironically, despite Sony canceling plans for a sequel, the company does consider Days Gone worthy of getting an update remaster for PS5. It comes out in April 2025 and includes new modes that will also be added to the PC version as DLC. Ben is another one they fucked up. You guys hear here, there was internal arguments within Ben. So much so that some people left, some people stayed. They're talking about working on a Naughty Dog IP. Like, what are you guys doing? Ben is doing a live service game that got canceled. So that's one team. Another team was working on the remaster of, remaster of Days Gone, right? There's only so many people that work at Bend. I don't know exactly how many, but I'm guessing anywhere between 300 to 500 people, and I think that's on the high end. Like, so when are we gonna see next Bend game? Fucking PS6. So it's just crazy to me. Another freaking thing that I'm pissed off about mismanagement. Also, the remake or remaster for Days Gone 2, that should have been Shadow Drop during the state of play. That's when they would have got the most impact, the most marketing, the most talk of the game, the most. Like, why wait till April, dude? Come on, that's just another drop ball by PlayStation. San Diego, one of the PlayStation's workhorse studios right here. San Diego Studios may be the most reliable of the PlayStation studios since it's very easy to guess what it's working on. They've done literally nothing but make annual MLB The Show games since 2018, and this year's entry is already set to arrive March 2025. This year will mark the series' departure from most last-gen system, as it's only slated for the PS5, Xbox Series XS, and Nintendo Switch. Otherwise, there's never been anything to suggest San Diego Studios will work on something other than baseball games is known for. Now, I want to sit here and say that I would love a new game from San Diego, but let's be real. Them being the workhorse for Sony and being consistent and dropping MLB The Show every year is bringing in a lot of money, and it's something that PlayStation needs to continue doing from a business aspect. Insomniac Games. Everyone know that Insomniac, and also by the way, Insomniac Games is also another workhorse of PlayStation. Everyone knows that Insomniac's next project is this Wolverine game, which was teased back in 2021. It's a question of when it will actually come out or get a new trailer that continues to plague the studio. The project suffered a major setback at the end of 2023 when hackers stole a significant amount of data and leaked details online, including incomplete gameplay footage and plot details. Insomniac assured the Wolverine game wouldn't be canceled as a result, but while there was no mention of delay, the incident undoubtedly had an effect on its development. Absolutely it did. Also, Insomniac is the type that said, well, a lot of people saw our games, we're going to have to redo this whole thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if they start fresh with Wolverine. The same hack also unveiled a release schedule for several unannounced Insomniac projects. This include a new Ratchet & Clank, a Venom spin-off, and Spider-Man 3. But Insomniac apparently also had plans for another Marvel game starting the X-Men and a new IP. It's very likely these plans have been adjusted or completely changed thanks to the hack, and given how quiet the studio's been about Wolverine, it wouldn't be surprising if Insomniac opted to release something else first and keep Wolverine on the back burner for a while longer. That makes total sense to me too. And that's something I would do if I was head of the studio. I would pull Wolverine back, rework the whole game, release something else. And Insomniac, I have faith in. I actually don't care when Insomniac releases another game because I know it's going to be a banger. And also, I know they're going to be working exponentially and they're going to be working at a good pace. Unlike Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog, we got to check up on them every fucking month because they just take so long. Insomniac, I ain't got no qualms with it. I guarantee you, Insomniac, they can start a new IP right now, and they'll probably release it in 3 years. That's how fast they are. That's how good they work. Bluepoint Games. Bluepoint Games was Sony's go-to for remasters and remakes, with its most recent project being 2020's Demon's Soul, which was one of the very first PlayStation 5 exclusives. After Sony bought the studio in 2021, though, Bluepoint said its next project would be something entirely original. Years went by without any updates, only for it to turn out to be one of Sony's live service games. Said game was reportedly God of War spin-off, but with its cancellation in January 25 alongside Bend Studios' live service game, there's no telling if it's moved into something else. Maybe Sony will opt to play things safe and stick Bluepoint on another remake, but nothing's been confirmed. Another waste of time now. Another waste of time. So they have wasted 4 years on this God of War live service. Because they said 2021. It's 2025. The game got canceled last month. What are you doing, PlayStation? Go ahead, stick Bluepoint, make the remasters of God of War, the Greek editions, or Sly Cooper, or any of your old IPs, fucking some of your Insomniac old IPs as well, damn, I forget the name of them, that alien shooting game that they had, I forgot. Make them work on something like that. Make them do it quick so they release it in the next year or two. Like, oh man, it's just frustrating. And a God of War live service, like, what are you doing? Melee live service or hack and slash live service games don't last. They just don't. They fail all the time. Even WB with their fancy IPs and cartoons and superheroes and DC, even they failed. Haven Studios. With Sony canceling live service games left and right, it'd be easy to assume Fair Games, the debut title for Canadian studio Haven, which Sony bought in 22, would meet a similar fate. So far, that doesn't appear to be the case, with the insider info claiming internal reaction to Fair Games have been positive. Still, Haven must be facing a lot of pressure to succeed, lest it suffer the same fate as Concord developer Firewalk Studio. Although there was never a release date to begin with, insider Jeff Grubb claimed his Game Mess Decides podcast that Fair Games won't be out this year and has been pushed back into 2026. I don't care about anything about this game. I'm not going to play it. Maybe I'll try it out if it's free, but Guerrilla Games. Confirmed through job listings in 2022 rather than any teaser trailer, Guerrilla Games will be expanding its Horizon IP with a dedicated online multiplayer spinoff. Leaked alpha footage from early 23 showed its new cartoony art style, but the final product could wind up looking very different considering Guerrilla has given no real updates on its progress since. Guerrilla also effectively confirmed a full sequel to Horizon Forbidden West will happen, but with the studio likely focused on a multiplayer game, Aloy's adventures probably won't continue until the PlayStation 6 arrives, and that hurts my fucking feelings. You're putting off Horizon sequel for the Horizon live service? Like, what? Horizon Zero Dawn sold over 25 million copies. Horizon Forbidden West sold closer to 10, and only because PlayStation hurt themselves by putting the game in their subscription service too soon. Now you've been working on this live service game, which I'm gonna play because I love the Horizon IP. So it's the only live service game that I'm looking forward to, not because of the game itself, but because it's a Horizon IP. But right here, mismanagement, I feel like, which I think the Horizon IP fits better into the live service format than God of War or any of the other ones that they've been working on. Media Molecule. After launching its game creation tool Dreams for the PlayStation 4 in 2020, Media Molecule spent the next 4 years supporting and updating it. We always expected it would eventually be ported to the PlayStation 5, but that never happened, and there were fears the UK studio could be shut down. Support for Dreams ended in 23 when Media Molecule confirming it will be working on something new unrelated to Dreams. There's no hard evidence to suggest what this new project is, but the studio's past experience with the Little Big Planet games points to something that makes use of user-generated content in some way. Yeah, we just have to wait to see what they do. 2023 is when they ended support for that game, so we're only 2 years away from that, so who knows how long this will take. Housemarque. About a year after the launch of Housemarque PlayStation 5 debut, Returnal, the studio said its next game would be a new IP rather than a sequel. As of February 25 State of Play, we now know that game is titled Sorrows and will be out in 26. While it has no direct ties to Returnal, it is very much a spiritual successor since it too will be a third-person action roguelike. With little info that was shared on PlayStation blog suggests it will be a slightly kinder experience than Returnal was, but otherwise we know nothing about the game at that moment. I'm excited for this. Especially if they make it a little bit easier. I'm all in for that. Even though Returnal was a very hard game for me, I still enjoyed the gameplay so damn much that even in the first biome, which I never got out of until I started playing co-op, I had like 15 hours into it. So looking forward to this. A year out of announcement, it's a little disappointing, but hey, it is what it is. Firesprite, another studio Sony acquired in 21 alongside Housemarque and Bluepoint Games. Firesprite has since made Horizon Call of the Mountain VR, which is a phenomenal game spin-off, but its future is otherwise unclear. While it was assumed the studio had been bought for VR expertise, 22 job listings pointed to one of its future projects being a traditional narrative-driven horror game, and it was reportedly handling a Twisted Metal reboot too. The latter was apparently since been canceled following layoffs at Firesprite, and there's no telling if a horror game is alive or not. Plus, according to a Eurogamer report, the studio has already bled away most of its staff, bearing one of Firesprite's founders. After Call of the Mountain launched in 23, executives from Sony ex-dev support studios took over Firesprite, and new leadership was soon criticized for alleged toxic behavior, although Sony apparently dismissed the complaints. So this studio probably won't release anything for a long time. There's a lot of internal drama going on. It seems like they don't know which direction they want to head into. A horror game Sounds like a really good idea. PlayStation doesn't have any first-party horror games, so that's a great way to get into that market. Resident Evil does very well. A lot of horror games do very well. It's a good market to get into, and I think that if they don't, they freaking blew their opportunity once again. Polyphony Digital. Ever since Gran Turismo 7 launched in 22, Polyphony Digital seems to have been completely dedicated to routine updates, adding new cars, addressing issues, and incorporating a VR mode to coincide with PSVR 2. The studio did release a free-to-play game entitled My First Gran Turismo in December 24, but it's essentially a trimmed-down version of GT7, meant to coax people into buying the full game. As far as the new gamers go, it's safe to assume Polyphony is doing some work on Gran Turismo 8. Studio CEO, series producer Kazunori Yamauchi even hinted in 23. There's no sign of it launching anytime soon. Its release may also depend on how profitable Gran Turismo 7 microtransactions are. Sony is unlikely ever share exactly how much money it makes from them, but if they're popular enough, the publisher may not feel pressure to push out a sequel until PS6 arrives. Which I would do that too. I wouldn't push another GT game this gen. There's no need to. Keep the same game that you have. Keep updating it, adding new stuff to it like you've been doing. That game is fine. The game is phenomenal. It's one of the best Gran Turismo games ever. Keep it how you're going. Team Asobi. Hopefully, Sony will now view Team Asobi as an important part of PlayStation business, as they should. Thanks to the critical success of Astrobot, it may not have sold as well as Sony's biggest blockbuster, but it gathered a lot of prestige and won no less than 4 awards at the Game Awards 24, including Game of the Year. A platformer is never going to do that amount. This ain't Nintendo, right? We are the adults of the gaming industry, so we want adult games, rated M games. Astrobot was never going to sell 10 million copies like the rest of the IPs do, but it was going to be a good game. It was going to do well for what it is. No questions there. This has encouraged Sony to pursue more family-oriented games, and we'd be shocked if that didn't include at least one Astrobot follow-up. The real question is whether Team Asobi's next project will be another traditional platformer or something else entirely. It could even return to VR well based on its experience with Astrobot Rescue Mission, although that's unlikely considering Sony appears to have lost interest in making its own VR games. That's actually a smart idea, creating a VR Astrobot, but that should be an hors d'oeuvre. It shouldn't be the main game that they're working on. And that's true. PlayStation hasn't done any first-party VR games except Call of the Mountain. And it's unfortunate because Call of the Mountain is a quality VR game. For those of you guys that don't play VR, I would say a big portion of VR games are janky. Not saying they're not fun, they're just janky. It's very few and far between you get a good quality, polished VR game. Call of the Mountain was just that. Bungie. Destiny's 2 story may have concluded with its Final Shape expansion, but Bungie is still supporting the game, albeit with smaller content updates. No doubt a consequence of the Final Shape's underperformance and another swath of layoffs. In the meantime, Bungie seems to be shifting its focus to its Marathon Reboot, another one of Sony's upcoming live service games, which hasn't had a meaningful update since 2023 reveal. Bungie is Bungie. Marathon, some people are saying it's going to get canceled. I don't think so. I think Bungie is really relying heavy on Marathon to be the future of Bungie, but we will see. I think what Bungie really needs to do here is come out with a first-party game. They're great at it. They made one of the best single-player games. They did one of the best single-player games in the history of video games, Halo. Why not give it another shot, man? This could really do a lot of good things for you guys. 1, you can sell a shit ton of games. 2, huge morale boost to the company, the employees, the developers. 3, give you more flexibility to do these live service games that are extremely fucking risky. But that is my opinion. Thank you guys so much for this long-ass video. Now you guys know what every studio is making. At the beginning of the video, I asked a question, where are PlayStation's first-party games? We still didn't get our answer. It seems like it's going to be a very dry next couple years for PlayStation, just like the last couple years were. If they do come out with first-party games, it's probably going to be a live service game, or it's going to be an Insomniac game. I mean, that's just what it seems like to me. We're looking at Naughty Dog, right? Because they did announce Intergalactic. Who knows when that'll come out. Sucker Punch, Ghost of Yote is what they're working on. When that releases, it'll be another 5 years before they come out with something else. Insomniac is the main one that I'm looking to because I'm sure they'll release about 2 to 3 more games before the generation ends, but who knows? Santa Monica Studio, we don't know. We just know they're working on a couple different projects. And those are the main ones. But that's all I got for y'all today, man. Let me know in the comment section what you think, and we'll catch you in the next one. Keep it gaming.